How's it going, everyone? Data here, and welcome back to another career simulation here on NHL 22. Today, going through the career of Shane Wright, the 4th overall pick in the 2022 entry draft taken by the Seattle Kraken. People were a bit surprised the Canadians passed on him, but then, the Devils passed on him. Probably most surprisingly, the Coyotes passed on him, and Shane Wright, who many thought was going to be number 1, ended up going at number 4 to the Kraken. Some say that he didn't do well in his interview. He got a bit of the Bo Callahan treatment, perhaps. If you know, you know. But needless to say, Shane Wright is a good prospect. And say what you will about his ability to be in a big market or whatever else. We'll see as time will unfold. But in the OHL last season, 94 points in 63 games. The captain of the Kingston Frontenacs. Starting off in the simulation, he is a 78 overall. Likely going to go first overall in the in-game draft. He has high elite potential. He's 17 years of age, of course, at the time of the beginning of 2021-22. Already 86 passing, 87 offensive awareness, stuff like that. So I'm sure that he will simulate quite well. And I'm curious to see how his career will pan out on the Kraken, as when we did our Canadians career simulation, he had a very, very fruitful career, ending as the all-time franchise leader in games played, assists, and points. So now that we know that Shane Wright will be on the Seattle Kraken, I'm going to, as always, take a totally different team and run through a 20-plus year simulation here on franchise mode. Everything is totally simulated and out of my control. I haven't said this before, but I feel like I have to say it after the last couple simulations. Just as a note, I do not have control over anything happening in this simulation. If a team you don't like wins the Stanley Cup, or if a player you think should be on the first line is on the third line, please do not leave a comment that is frustrated at me, because this is the EA simulation that I am just simulating through. No control over it whatsoever. We're going to watch what unfolds in Shane Wright's career. Does he stay with the Kraken and become Mr. Seattle, the captain of the franchise in 20 years? Does he move on to go to bigger and better things? How many cups, awards, records can he get throughout his career? That will be what we're interested in finding out. So everything is set to auto. Injuries are turned on. We're going to run through his career season by season, looking at the lineup, looking at his points, looking at the team, how it performs, really just focusing on Shane Wright, not looking around the rest of the NHL. I updated the rosters up until the draft, so the DeBrincat trade and the Kirby Dach trade, all that happened, but I didn't update anything from the beginning of free agency, because the problem is the simulation begins at 2021-22. So for example, if I take a player that has 1 year left on their contract, say Johnny Gaudreau, and I put him on Columbus, once his contract expires in 1 year, he may just go back to free agency and sign with somebody else. So we're not focusing on the rest of the NHL. It's not a how does the world look in 20 years simulation. It's what can Shane Wright do in his career simulation. So we'll go through it year by year. Each year to simulate takes well over 20 minutes. So to go through a whole career, it takes a couple days of simulation, a lot of editing and stuff like that. I love these videos, but they are by far the ones that take the longest to make. So if you do enjoy it, be sure to leave a like, share it with somebody that you think might like it as well, and consider subscribing as well, as we have all of these NHL 22 career simulations and more. Leave a comment on who you'd like to see next. Without further ado, let's get to the 2022 NHL Entry Draft. So with the first overall selection in the 2022 NHL Entry Draft, the Seattle Kraken go ahead and select Shane Wright. As we already saw, 78 overall, high elite, now 18 years of age, with some X factors though to boot. Ankle breaker, wheels, elite edges, it's tricky, third eye, and tape to tape, so that would be amazing for him. I don't think any of his attributes have changed since when we saw him at the beginning of this season, but I'm curious to see if over the offseason he'll grow enough to make the NHL and be that 1-2 punch with Matty Beniers already in 2022-23. If you are curious, in the simulation, Slavkovsky going to Detroit with the 2nd overall pick, and if you want to see your Slavkovsky's career simulated, that has already been done with the Montreal Canadiens. I'll put a little card in the top right corner. Or you can check out some of the other videos on the channel, and it will be there as well. Year number 1, and the Kraken are not sending Shane Wright back to the OHL. He is in the NHL and playing first-line center to boot. Daniel Sprong on his left, Jordan Eberle on his right. The 78 overall 18-year-old, listed as a depth forward, will be playing first-line minutes. I don't think any of his attributes have changed over the offseason. He's also going to be playing first-unit power play. Here's the Kraken if you're curious to see how they look in year number 1. I won't look at them every year, but here's how they're looking to start off the career of Shane Wright. Matty Beniers on the fourth line, which is very odd, but I'm sure as his overall grows over the course of the season, he'll move. Defense, nothing really different aside from Erik Karlsson coming to Seattle. That's interesting. And Philip Grubauer backed up by Chris Driedger. So it's definitely a strategy to have Shane Wright playing first line center. Let's see how that pays off in his first season in the NHL. In year number one, I don't think really to anyone's surprise, the Kraken did not make the playoffs, but they were actually pretty close as they finished 20th in the NHL with a record of 37, 33, and 12. And much of the Kraken's success came from a very strong rookie campaign from Shane Wright, who played in 74 out of the 82 games, scoring 25 goals and 31 assists for 56 points. He had 15 power play points and averaged over 19.5 minutes of ice time per night. That very strong show in his rookie season was good enough to win him the Calder Memorial Trophy in 2023. And headed into the 2023 offseason, he has grown to an 84 overall, has a little bit of hardware, and will likely get even better headed into his second season. Already 5-star puck skills, 91 offensive awareness. Excited to see where it goes from here. And of course, there wasn't really much competition in the 2 years of the Kraken's existence, but Shane Wright's totals in 2022-23 give him the franchise record for rookie goals, assists, and points in a single season. Year number two, and Shane Wright has grown to an 86 overall at the age of 19, already listed as a first-line forward. That's huge for him. 5-star puck skills, senses, and 4.5-star shooting. Already 96 passing, puck control, and 93 offensive awareness. So he's on track to be a premier centerman. Has to work on the face-offs, the defense, skating physical. Well, that should come with time. He still has Sprong on his left, Eberle on his right, and still playing first unit power play. The Kraken management definitely needs to figure out what's up with Matty Beniers, because burying him on the fourth line is not going to help, especially when Wright and Beniers are supposed to be the 1-2 punch of the future. But McCann in 86, Kerfoot in 85, the team looks half decent, and after missing out on the playoffs last year by just a few wins, could Shane Wright in his sophomore year, coming off the Calder Trophy, carry the Kraken to their first berth in franchise history? Defense looking like this if you're curious, and the goaltending is still Grubauer and Driedger. So after 56 points and the Calder Trophy, as I just said, let's see what Shane Wright can do in 2023-24. Year number two may be suggesting that year number one for Seattle was a fluke, as they finished 5th from the bottom in the NHL in 2023-24, 28th in the NHL with a record of 33, 42, and 7. But that didn't bother Shane Wright, who played in 80 out of 82 games and scored 71 points, a great improvement on his rookie season, 24 goals and 47 assists, great playmaking year, 11 power play points, playing over 20 minutes a night, and he grows to an 88 overall and sees his potential grow from high elite to medium franchise. Big development right there. At the age of 20, 5-star puck skills and senses remain. His shooting drops from 4.5 to 4 stars, but his defense had a big jump this season, going to 4.5 stars. Very good development from him. Skating 4 stars, physical 3 stars. Looking for another big offseason from Shane Wright. 2024-25 should be on track to be his best yet. Year number 3 now, the final of Shane Wright's entry-level deal, and the Kraken made some big moves over the offseason. He is now centering a first line with Tyler Bertuzzi and Tom Wilson. Second line looks good. Matty Beniers up to an 84 with Zaka and Lind on his wings. So the Kraken developing not too badly here. Defense still not too bad, okay, and Grubauer backed up by a rookie. So maybe that's their weak spot, but Shane Wright will be very happy to have stronger offensive threats by his side, especially on the power play as well. As we already said, 88 overall with that medium franchise potential, 97 offensive awareness. His passing and puck control has dropped from what it was at 96, but his puck skills are still 5-star overall. Same with the shooting, dropped from 4.5 to 4, but like we said, the defense is up to 4.5, skating at 4 stars. So hopefully it's a good all-around year of growth for Shane Wright in the final year of his entry-level deal before he will want to start getting paid. In year number 3, it's a slight improvement for the Kraken as they finished 22nd in the NHL, exactly 500 with a record of 38, 38, and 6. Shane Wright's production took a little bit of a dip in the final year of his entry-level deal. He played in 79 games and scored 25 goals, but only 38 assists, maybe not as much passing opportunities as previously. 63 points on the year, a -9, 16 power play points, playing almost 20 minutes a night. His potential remains medium franchise, but his role has dropped to a second-line forward because his overall has dropped to an 86. Very curious, I do have to say. Physical down to 2.5 stars, course. The guy just isn't eating his vitamins. I don't know what, but hopefully it's a bounce back off season and he can get a decent contract signed. Maybe a little bridge deal to see what he can prove for the Kraken. 3 years, hasn't played a full 82 games. Has scored 190 points through 233 games, so he should be in line for a decent little payday, but he still has a lot to prove, and we'll see what the 2025 offseason holds. Year number 4 now, and Shane Wright has bounced back a little bit up to an 87 overall, back to being listed as a first-line forward, maintaining his medium franchise potential, so a good season can see a huge growth in overall, absolutely. Passing and puck control back to 96 each, 95 offensive awareness, 4-star defense, okay, we're looking good. I see the potential for this season. After his entry-level deal expired, he decided to not go for the bridge, but for a big boy contract, signing a 6-year deal, giving him $10.375 million per season, $62.25 million over 6 years, which will bring him to UFA status at the end of this contract. Playing with Bertuzzi and Wilson on that first line, Matty Beniers up to an 86. Finally, Seattle's getting their 1-2 punch. Only took till 2025. We'll see how they do here in 2025-26 as they finally have their 2 prospects as their top 6 centermen. Year number 4, and the Kraken tie their franchise best 20th place finish in the NHL. Not too shabby, continuing to improve. A record of 39, 35, and 8. Shane Wright's first season as a $62 million man saw him tie his career high of 71 points and be tied for the team lead in points with Tom Wilson. That's very interesting. 22 goals and 49 assists in 82 games, the first time that he plays a full season. The 71 points tying the franchise record for the Kraken, most points in a single season, and 49 assists, a new franchise record for most assists in a season. Matty Beniers as well, 60 points from him, so nice to see him succeeding. 12 power play points and almost 20.5 minutes of ice time per night. Wright regains his 89 overall, maintains his medium franchise potential, is once again a first-line forward, and the attributes are looking quite impressive. The shooting accuracy, especially in the 90s aside from slap shot accuracy, although their shooting attributes looking good there. 96 passing, puck control still maintained. Shane Wright and the Kraken should continue to trend upwards headed into year number 5. Year number 5, and things are starting to look very interesting here in Seattle as Shane Wright has grown to his highest overall yet. He is a 90 overall at the age of 22. First line forward, medium franchise potential, 97 passing and puck control, 94 deking and hand-eye, 95 offensive awareness. The physical still leaves a little bit to be desired, but that is coming along a little bit. 90 durability is nice. As he was able last season to play his first full 82-game season, so hopefully that can be repeated this year. On a first line with Zach Hyman and Tom Wilson, Matty Beniers, second line center as an 87, so all signs point to a strong season for Seattle, who has never finished better than 20th in the NHL, so hoping for big things in 2026-27. In year number 5, Seattle's 6th season in existence, they make the playoffs for the first time in their franchise's history, finishing a very impressive 9th in the NHL with a record of 44, 30, and 8. It was also a career year from Shane Wright, who scored 73 points, a new franchise record for most points in a season and most assists in a season with 52, also had 21 goals, but in only 66 games, shortened likely due to injury. He would have been on pace for a 91-point season, 13 power play points, playing almost 21 minutes a night and going up to a 92 overall. Scoring 13 power play points and averaging almost 21 minutes a night of ice time. In the postseason, the Kraken also won their first playoff series in franchise history as they took down the reigning Stanley Cup champion LA Kings in 7 games before dropping to the Dallas Stars in 7, who would go on to lose against the eventual Stanley Cup champion Winnipeg Jets. In his first postseason, Shane Wright put up 6 goals and 5 assists for 11 points in 14 games. He was a -5, but despite all that, a solid season through and through, raises his overall to a 92, the highest he's ever been. 5-star puck skills, senses, shooting, and skating. It's just a defense at 4.5 and physical at 3.5 that's lagging behind with a defense. Very, very nice to see all those in the mid to high 80s, even 95 stick checking. Great year from Shane Wright, who hopefully next season, if he can stay healthy and the team continues to develop, should have an even better year. Year number 6 now with the Kraken and Wright both coming off the best seasons that they've ever had. This is going to be a big 2027-28 season. Shane Wright at a 92 overall. I don't think any of the attributes have changed since the end of year number 5. Hyman and Kapanen on the first line with Wright. Beniers second line center. Defense, you got Devon Toews, Dante Fabro. Goaltending is Jordan Binnington between the pipes. Hopefully a little playoff experience. So the Kraken definitely want to build on what they did last year, but especially Shane Wright, who had his season cut short due to injury. Give him a full, healthy season, and this could be explosive. The Kraken took a difficult step back in year number 6, as after finishing 9th in the NHL in year number 5, they finished 26th in the NHL in 2027-28 with a record of 36, 39, and 7. Also a very difficult year in terms of scoring for the Kraken, as Shane Wright put up the second lowest point total of his career. Once again, can't stay fully healthy, 72 games played out of 82, 24 goals and 35 assists for 59 points. Only 5 power play points as well. That's really surprising. Averaging over 22 and a half minutes a night. So not sure just what didn't click for Shane Wright and the team. Needless to say, he does drop from a 92 to a 90 overall. Attributes are still very solid. The defense has gone down by half a star. I think the physical by half a star as well. But the puck skills, the shooting, it's all very good. Should be a bounce back summer. And hopefully the Kraken can get it together a little bit headed into year number 7, as we're getting into territory of it not really being as excusable anymore. Year number 7 for Shane Wright, and he will definitely want to put last season's struggles behind him, as well as the entire Kraken team will want to do the same. He maintained his 90 overall over the offseason, shot blocking down to 79, stick checking down to 91. The defensive attributes have been taking a hit, while the puck skills and shooting and offensive awareness and stuff like that stays as high as always. Skating back to 4.5 stars, physical stuck at 3. He'll definitely want to improve on last year's 59 points. He definitely has the line mates to do it. Matty Beniers on his left, Tyler Bertuzzi on his right. A new prospect, Maurice Papineau, in the system, who was drafted this last year, I believe. So that's great. The defense looks pretty solid. Dennis Chalowski's still on this team as well, an original Kraken. AI teams can sometimes get really bad really fast on defense and goaltending because the AI GM doesn't know what to do. Binnington now backing up this guy, Matteo Raymond. So, you know, a little bit of a hiccup there from Shane Wright and the Kraken last year. We've seen that this team has the ability to perform, so let's hope for a strong 2028-29. Year number 7 saw the Kraken return to the postseason for the second time in franchise history. They were around 500 at the midway point, but a huge rally in the second half of the season to finish 11th. 45, 33, and 4 was their final record. Shane Wright played in all 82 games for just the second time in his career and posted a new career high in points with 75, also a new franchise single season record, 27 goals and 48 assists, 17 power play points, averaging over 22 minutes a night. However, in the postseason, the Seattle Kraken dropped in 7 in round number 1 to the Calgary Flames, who lost to the Stars, who lost to the Avalanche, who went on to win the Stanley Cup, as the Flyers lose back-to-back Stanley Cup finals that they appear in, I believe, in the last 3 years. Despite it being a first-round exit, Shane Wright was over a point per game with 6 goals and 8 points in 7 games. Great to see that. At the age of 25, he is a 90 overall. All the attributes looking extremely impressive. Still a 3-star physical, despite being 6'2", but makes up for it with the speed and the puck skills and all that good stuff. And also in 2029, Shane Wright wins the Frank J. Selke Trophy as the forward who best excels in the defensive aspects of the game. The first piece of hardware that he wins since the Calder Memorial Trophy. In the season where he put up a career high in goals with 27 and points with 75, he was very strong defensively as well, so that was good enough to win him the Selke. So with all those accolades coming in a full, healthy 82-game season and another taste of the playoffs, hopefully the upward momentum will continue for Wright and the Kraken headed into year number 8. Year number 8, and Shane Wright's overall has remained at a 90. Bertuzzi on his left, this prospect Buse on his right, 4.5-star shooting, so that'll be great for Wright as a playmaker. Beniers on the second line, Cirelli on the third line. Defensively, David Jiricek is here. Shout out to our Seattle Kraken franchise mode. Defense is pretty solid. Mackenzie Blackwood between the pipes, backed up by Caden Primo. A good lineup here that hopefully Shane Wright can continue to build off of, as he had that career year last year. All the attributes looking great. 88 faceoffs. He is a number 1 centerman in the NHL. Coming off the Frank J. Selke Trophy as well. Hopefully momentum continues in his favor in 2029-30. A lot of firsts in year number 8 as the Seattle Kraken have their best season in franchise history, their first ever 50-win season, and for the first time in franchise history make the postseason in back-to-back years. Third best in the league, second best in the Western Conference with 106 points, a record of 50, 26, and 6. It also makes sense that it was another career year for Shane Wright as he once again set new career and franchise single-season highs in assists and points with 22 goals, 54 assists, and 76 points, playing in all 82 games. Again, another first for the first time in back-to-back seasons in his career. 14 power play points, and he averaged 22.40 a night. However, in the playoffs, it was an early exit in round number 1. Understandably against the team that went on to win the Western Conference, but Vegas took down Seattle in 6, going on to lose in 6 themselves to Buffalo in the 2030 Stanley Cup Final. Shane Wright in those 6 games was a man on a mission. 1 goal, 8 assists, and 9 points in 6 games. A +2, so I don't think he was the reason why Seattle didn't do well. Now at the age of 26, he maintains the 90 overall status and will be moving into the final year of that 6-year extension that he signed out of his ELC back in the day. And in 2030, Shane Wright also once again won the Frank J. Selke Trophy, back-to-back Selke trophies for the young centerman. Some have made comparisons to Patrice Bergeron, so nice to see that he has won 2 Selkes by the age of 26, with hopefully much more to come. Year number 9 now, and it will be a big one for Shane Wright, coming off of a couple of career years and a couple of Selke trophies. The Kraken could not afford Matty Beniers as he walked in free agency, and they gave a huge contract to Hendrix Lapierre. They're paying him $13.31 million per season. So yeah, he has 5-star puck skills and all that. He's the new 1-2 punch with Shane Wright, 70, 60-point guy. Beniers was consistently getting like 60 points a year the last, I think, 4 years, but Hendrix Lapierre and Shane Wright, possibly now the new 1-2 punch, but Shane Wright is in a contract year. Another reason why this may be a big year for him. I'll be curious to see if he can continue to set new career and franchise highs as we head into 2030-31. Year number 9 was another strong season for Seattle as they once again finish among the best in the NHL. A 4th place finish in the league with a record of 45, 28, and 9. Talk about going off in a contract year as Shane Wright explodes in year number 9 for 38 goals, 62 assists, and an even 100 points in all 82 games. New career high in assists by 8, new career high in goals by 11, and new career high in points by 24. Shocking stuff. A +7, 23 power play points, and he registered 22.46 of ice time a night. The first Seattle Kraken in franchise history to register a 100-point season, which of course gives him the franchise record for the most points in a single season. Hendrix Lapierre, who's played like 16 minutes a night, scored 74 points, so that's crazy from him. The 1-2 punch did very well. Papineau, a playmaker. That's why I guess Wright had so many goals this season. He had people passing him the puck for once. And those 100 points were good enough to put Shane Wright in 4th of all scoring across the league, the highest he's ever been when it comes to scoring. Usually being in like the 70s, he's never really gotten close to Art Ross territory, but finishing just 5 points away from the league leader is crazy. All of that regular season success did translate into some postseason success as the Kraken had their deepest run in franchise history, but lost in the conference final to the Winnipeg Jets, who went on to lose in 5 to the Caps. They took down the Kings in 5, the Wild in 6, but then got swept out of the Western Conference final. Wright wasn't as dominant, but still great in the postseason. 3 goals, 9 assists, and 12 points in 15 games. 92 overall. His potential's back to exact elite. I think it's been like that for a little while. I haven't taken note of it, but just to note now that his potential is exact elite now that he's at the age of 26, 27, where it becomes exact and no more low, high, medium. 92 overall, 98 passing, 98 puck control, 98 offensive awareness, 5-star puck skill, senses, shooting, and defense, 4.5 skating, 3-star physical. Needless to say, he is in for a big raise as he goes to unrestricted free agency. Will Seattle sign him before that? Will he look around the NHL? After a 100-point season, it's definitely going to be costly for the Kraken to keep him on. No Selke this year as Cole Sillinger broke Wright's streak at just 2, but I'm sure he'll be back for more later on in his career. I'm very excited for the 2031 offseason because Shane Wright, if he goes to unrestricted free agency, will be a huge fish, and I'm not sure Seattle has the money to re-sign him because they've committed a lot elsewhere. We'll have to see what happens headed into year number 10. In Shane Wright's 10th NHL season, he is back in Seattle. They found the money to sign him up, and it was not cheap, as Shane Wright signed a 7-year extension, paying him $13.57 million a year, just $10,000 shy of a $95 million contract over 7 years. He definitely deserves it. You know, the team's been in the playoffs 4 of the last 5 seasons. He's won a couple Selke trophies, coming off of a 100-point season, 92 overall, 98 passing, puck control, offensive awareness, 5-star defense with a 90 defensive awareness, 5-star shooting. This may be an even better season than last, but it all depends on his line mates. He has Papineau on his right, this guy Louis Lalancette on his left. He is another playmaker. Cirelli, Hendrik Lapierre, and Cole Caulfield on the second line. I like that, but a questionable fourth line. Defensively, Jake Bean and David Jiricek, which is pretty much, I think we had a pair like that in our Kraken franchise mode, so great to see that coming into fruition. Ilya Samsonov starting, backed up by a prospect here, Sheldon Webster, medium elite. So great to see that the team didn't take too much of a crazy hit in signing Shane Wright. It definitely wasn't cheap, but they have him on board for 7 more years. Let's hope that he continue to produce at the levels that we have seen now in 2031-32. Definitely a surprise in year number 10, as the Kraken saw their postseason streak end at 3 years, and they finished 24th in the NHL with a record of 39, 38, and 5. Shane Wright, in the first year of that $95 million contract, got a new career high in goals as he scored 40, but only ended with 76 points, which is, you know, it's the tied for his second best of his career, but a step down from 100 points from last season. Played in 80 out of 82 games. The third lowest number of assists that he ever registered in a season with 36, but like I said, a career high in goals with 40. He had 14 power play points, averaging 21.5 minutes of ice time per night. Drops down from a 92 to a 91 overall, but the attributes still look extremely solid. I guess he's becoming a bit more of a goal scorer with this guy like Papineau playing with him, who had 4 goals and 58 assists. Curious stuff, as the team just couldn't really come together. Goaltending, I don't think, I don't know, it wasn't horrible. The backup wasn't good though at all. So things just a bit of a weird year for Seattle. But there is a silver lining, as Shane Wright won his 3rd Selke trophy and his 3rd in the last 4 years. A really impressive accomplishment that already ties him with Guy Carbonneau, Jere Lehtinen, and Pavel Datsyuk for 3 Selke trophies. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets to 4, 5, and maybe even the record by the time he retires. But baby steps, and there is a silver lining in 2032 as he maintains a 91 overall, and we'll head into year number 11 with higher hopes. Year number 11 in Seattle, and I am actually loving this lineup. Shane Wright, a 91 overall, has Lalancette up to an 85 on his left, and Noel Gunler, an 84 on his right. Tomasino, Papineau, Lapierre on the second, Malatesta, Mackey, Caulfield on the third, and then some solid overall players on the fourth. Defense is respectable, and goaltending is Ilya Samsonov, backed up by Webster. Not the greatest last season, but with a bit of a better team in front of them, maybe they could have a little bit more success. 91 overall is Shane Wright at the age of 28, coming off of another Selke trophy. 76 points, 40 goals. Let's see if he can continue the pace that he's been on here in 2032-33. In year number 11, the Kraken sneak back into the playoffs, taking the second to last spot as they finished 15th in the NHL. A 93-point season as they put together a 44, 33, and 5 record. Shane Wright probably had the most impressive season in terms of balance in his career. Played all 82 games, got a new career high in goals with 45, which is also a new single-season Kraken record, and the second best statistical season of his career as he put up 93 points. Very, very impressive. Definitely getting your money's worth in Seattle. So great to see that from him. 23 power play points to boot as he registered over 22 minutes of ice time per night. In the playoffs, the Kraken took down the reigning Stanley Cup champion Winnipeg Jets in 7 games of round number 1 before they dropped themselves in 7 in round number 2 to the Predators, who went on to lose to the Canucks, who won the 2033 Stanley Cup. Through the 14 playoff games, Shane Wright scored 8 goals and 5 assists for 13 points. No awards for him this year as Matty Barzal took the Selke away from him. 92 overall, Shane Wright is back to the highest overall he's ever been. 99 passing, 99 puck control, 97 offensive awareness, 5-star puck skills, senses, shooting, and skating. 4.5 defense. Still stuck at that 3-star physical. Don't think it'll ever really budge. But a crazy season. 45 goals, 5 more than he had previously put up in the best season of his career. Second best point total of his career as well. So things are looking up in Seattle. Another playoff berth headed into year number 12. I hope that the team will stay strong. Year number 12, and Shane Wright is starting off the year at a 92 overall with the 99 passing, the 99 puck control, the 97 offensive awareness. I'm looking forward to another really strong season from him. It's a good team around him as well. I like this forward core here in Seattle. Defensively, we have a big defensive defenseman, the second overall pick in 2024, who signed on. Seth Jones is out here. The former Washington goalie tandem of Samsonov and Vanacek is out here as well. So put that all together, solid special teams. I like the players that are around Shane Wright, which is exactly what a team has to do when they have a superstar. And I'm looking for a strong 2033-34 campaign. Another very sneaky season for the Kraken, as with a record of 39, 37, and 6, finishing 21st in the NHL, they make the playoffs due to how weak the Western Conference was. 5 Eastern Conference teams above the Kraken did not make the playoffs. Funny that some years 20th isn't good enough for the playoffs, but 21st makes it. Regardless, Shane Wright, a very strong season, over a point per game, 85 in 80, the third best statistical season of his career, 31 goals and 54 assists, very, very nice. A +1, 19 power play points, and he was registering over 23 minutes a night. A new career high in that regard by almost half a minute, so he was logging a lot now at the age of 30. In the postseason, the Kraken did a lot more than many thought they would as they pushed the Vegas Golden Knights to 7 games in a losing effort. The Vegas Golden Knights went on to lose in the Stanley Cup Final to the Toronto Maple Leafs in 6, but to say that the Kraken brought them as further than any other team did is saying something. In those 7 games, Shane Wright scored 4 goals and an assist for 5 points, and ending off the season, he is back to a 91 overall, but that continues to fluctuate throughout his, the offseason and all that. All the attributes looking extremely impressive. So as previously mentioned, headed into 2034-35, Shane Wright is still 91 overall, looking great despite entering into his 30s. I think he still has a lot of years ahead of him, so we'll see how the team around him looks in year number 13. Year number 13 now, and the Kraken are starting to see some changes in their lineup. Shane Wright, 91 overall, centering that first line. Noel Gunler on his left, this new prospect on his right. I'm actually 27-year-old, 78 overall. That's very odd. But a sniper with 2.5-star shooting. Okay. On his right. Second line looks solid. Defense looks okay. It's the goaltending that scares me a little bit, as Ilya Samsonov is now down to an 81 overall. But regardless, the Kraken have found a way to get it done. They have made the postseason the last 2 years in a row, and 5 of the last 6 seasons. So hopefully Shane Wright can continue to carry, as he is on a great streak right now. 98 passing, puck control, all that good stuff. The attributes are still there. 5-star skating at the age of 30. He's not regressing just yet. So let's see how his 13th season in the NHL will pan out. In year 13, maybe not to many surprise because of the goaltending, I don't know what, but the Kraken finished 29th in the NHL, 4th last from the bottom, a 33-40-9 record. Shane Wright once again carried, as he was able to play in all 82 games and scored the third 76-point season of his career. 30 goals, 46 assists, 19 power play points, almost 22.5 minutes a night of ice time. He's definitely carrying and doing what he can. He is the franchise centerman. He is the cornerstone, but Henrik Lapierre is starting to slow down a little bit. Noel Gunler isn't doing what he needs to be doing as a first-line winger for him. So hopefully the Kraken have a strong offseason headed into year number 14, because this year number 13 was quite underwhelming. Luckily for the Kraken, in the 2035 offseason, they win the draft lottery, moving up from pick number 4 all the way to number 1. And with that first overall selection, they go ahead and take a medium elite 82 overall centerman sniper, 17 years of age, Marc Couture. So that's really nice to have that in the system. Already 5-star shooting. So I don't know if he can play wing, if he'll just be the 1-2 punch with Shane Wright or what. Had 95 points in the QMJHL this past season. We'll see how he grows over the offseason as well, and how he will complement Shane Wright and the Kraken as a whole. Year number 14 for Shane Wright, and he is a 90 overall headed into this season at the age of 31. Puck skill, senses, shooting, all still at 5 stars. 97 passing, 97 puck control, 95 offensive awareness, high 80s, low 90s for the shooting, 90 faceoffs, all that great stuff. He hasn't won the Selke in a few years, so, maybe I'm just putting it out there, looking for a Selke this season. Lalancette on his left, Hartnell on his right. Difficult line mates, absolutely. Couture, that new prospect, is second line center, and the $13+ million man, Hendrix Lapierre, and with 2 years left on his contract, is fourth line center. So asset management has been difficult for the Kraken, but hopefully they can find a way to come together and find a way to get back into the postseason. In year number 14, the Kraken take baby steps as they now finish 25th in the NHL, a .500 record of 37, 37, and 8, missing the playoffs in back-to-back seasons for the first time since 2025 and 2026. A very interesting year from Shane Wright. Let me break it down for you. He scores 79 points in 62 games, which, number one, gives him over 1,000 points in his career. So hats off, congratulations. Number two, it is the fourth highest point-producing season of his career with those 79 points. Number three, he played in only 62 games, which broke a 7-year streak of playing in 80 games or more after he had some difficulties at the start of his career. And number four, 79 points in 62 games would have put him on pace for 104.48, so like 105 points, which would have been a career high. So he was on a great pace, close to his career high of 62 assists in a season. He improves to a 92 overall at the age of 32, so he has still got it. He played in over 23 minutes a night. Lalancette, Tomasino, Couture, some support there, thankfully. That prospect has grown to an 85 overall. So hopefully heading into next season, the Kraken can give Wright a little bit more support and he can stay healthy so that year number 15 will not be another postseason miss. Shane Wright's 15th year in the NHL and with the Kraken. I'm liking this first line more than last season. Lalancette on the left and this guy Tuomo Maki on the right. He's a playmaker, but 4-star shooting, good accuracy, so hopefully that helps. Second line, Boucher, Couture, and Costin. Hendrix Lapierre down to a 79. Thankfully, that will free up a lot of money next season. Cole Caulfield, fourth line center, okay. Defense leaves a little bit to be desired, and goaltending at least is an 80+ overall player. So Shane Wright is probably going to have to put this team over his shoulder, fireman style again, but he's a 91 overall, 32 years of age, 99 passing, 99 puck control, 96 deking, hand-eye, and offensive awareness, 5-star shooting, great defense as always. He's going to have to work hard, but it will be possible to get some results with this Kraken team in year number 15. A fantastic surprise in 2036-37 as the Kraken finished 6th in the NHL with a record of 45, 26, and 11. A very impressive campaign that saw Shane Wright score the second 100-point season of his career. Played in all 82 games and he scored 44 goals and 56 assists. That Marc Couture prospect, really the new 1-2 punch, as he's now up to an 89 overall, replacing what Matty Beniers could have been, I suppose. Shane Wright also got a career high in power play points, I believe, with 33, as he registered over 23.5 minutes a night, a new career high in that regard as well. 5 players scoring 60 points or more, so really, really, really happy to be seeing that. And let's go! In the postseason, the Seattle Kraken are the 2037 Stanley Cup champions. I wish you could have heard my reaction the first time I saw that. They take down the Oilers in a first-round thriller 7-game series. Then the Jets in 5, the Stars in 6. They go to their first Stanley Cup final in franchise history and sweep the Boston Bruins right out in 4 games. In the postseason, 33-year-old Shane Wright was a man on a mission with 8 goals and 22 assists in 22 games, a 30-point postseason, 2 power play goals, 9 power play points. He was averaging over 24.5 minutes a night. What a workhorse, as there were 4 players who went point per game or more on this team. What a great effort. Of course, the Kraken win the Stanley Cup, the Clarence S. Campbell Bowl. Individual awards, it goes without saying that the Conn Smythe goes to Shane Wright. There's some more hardware. And hey, by the way, back in the Selke conversation, Shane Wright is back winning the 2037 Selke, the 4th of his career, which ties him for the 2nd most all-time in NHL history with Bob Gainey, now just 1 behind Patrice Bergeron. After what was easily the best season of Shane Wright's career, he is at a 90 overall headed into the 2037 offseason. Attributes looking just like this, and he will be headed into the final year of that big 7-year extension that he signed way back when. And with 4 Selkies, a Conn Smythe, and a Stanley Cup ring, Shane Wright will want to prove to the world that he still has a lot more to give. Year number 16, I'm just laughing at myself for a second here. Who's this guy? Jerry Funk. Welcome to Seattle, Bello. 5th overall pick in 2028 with 5-star shooting. Oh my goodness gracious. Signed to a massive deal. Play him with 90 overall Shane Wright. Let's get ready to rumble. Lalancette on the left. Boucher Couture at a 90. This is an okay, very okay top 6. Defense, Riley Moen. Who are you? Welcome to the team. He signed a big deal. Ooh, it's getting a bit scary here. Again, this guy Grantham. Okay. Because the Kraken need to keep in mind that they need money next year. This is Shane Wright's final year of that big extension. I really hope they don't let him walk because he has been nothing but amazing. Coming off the Stanley Cup, Conn Smythe, 4th Selke trophy, Shane Wright looks poised for another huge season, especially with better line mates. His potential has dropped to top 6, so, he's starting to get up there in age a little bit, but 33 with 5-star puck skills, senses, shooting, I think he will still be fine, especially with better line mates. So with a Stanley Cup to defend, let's see how things go for the Kraken here in year number 16. In year number 16, the Kraken finished 8th in the NHL, another strong season as they had a record of 46, 30, and 6. Shane Wright had another very strong season and thankfully many more assists thanks to his line mates. 33 goals and 61 assists for 94 points playing in all 82 games. Jerry Funk on his right had 35 goals and Lalancette on his left had 80 assists, a new franchise record for assists, that's for certain. However, in the postseason, it was a disappointing exit for the reigning Stanley Cup champs as they lost in 7 of round number 1 to the San Jose Sharks, who went on to lose in 7 themselves to the Jets in the conference final, who went on to lose in 7 in the Stanley Cup final to the Carolina Hurricanes. By the way, on the Hurricanes, there is Jeffrey Funk, maybe Jerry Funk's brother, so I find that pretty amusing. Over on the Kraken, Shane Wright only played 4 out of the 7 games, so that definitely had an impact on the Kraken not making it through, in my opinion. Scored 7 points, tying him for the team lead in playoff points, but only in those 4 games, as I mentioned. 2 goals and 5 assists from him. In the awards category, Shane Wright won his first ever Lady Byng Memorial Trophy as the player judged to have exhibited the best sportsmanship and gentlemanly conduct, combined with a high standard of playing ability. He only had 10 penalty minutes. He's had seasons of less penalty minutes before, but I guess he's always been beat out by better options. But he wins the 2038 Lady Byng Memorial Trophy, as well as the Frank J. Selke Trophy. Make it back-to-back Selkies for the second time in his career, giving him now a total of 5 Selke trophies, tying him for the most all-time with Patrice Bergeron. Now at the age of 34 and at an 89 overall, does he have more in him to try and get a 6th Selke trophy? I don't know, but he should still be a great option for the Kraken. 99 passing, 99 puck control, a disappointing exit in the postseason, especially considering that his contract has now expired. He will be a UFA in the 2038 offseason. Will the Kraken be able to retain his services? Because he'll still cost quite a bit. I'm very curious to see what kind of contract he will sign headed into his 17th NHL season. Okay, so good news and bad news headed into year number 17. Shane Wright is signed back on with Seattle. I'm really happy to see that. I'm glad that he's going to be able to stick with the Kraken, hopefully until retirement, as he signs a 3-year contract, which will pay him $14.4 million per season, a $43.2 million contract, which brings his career earnings to above, I think, $200 million. So we'll see that at the end of this video, but hats off to you, buddy. That will hopefully bring him to around retirement age, but it did cost the Kraken a lot because the rest of their bottom 6 seems to be a lot of 70 type overall players. His right wing is Nelson Cope, a 77 overall, and left wing we got Hudson Esposito. It's a line of playmakers, 3 playmakers on the second line, so that's a bit odd. Couture, Lalancette, and Funk up on that first line. Shane Wright is still getting first unit power play, which is nice, but he's an 89 overall. He still has his abilities. The big things are still there. All the puck skills are still between 96 and 99, but he's coming off of back-to-back 90-plus point seasons, back-to-back Selkies, just a couple years removed from a Stanley Cup and Conn Smythe. It should be another solid year for Shane Wright, but I'm not quite so sure that it'll be as great of a year for the Kraken. Boy, oh boy, was it a close one in year number 17. The financials definitely hurt the Kraken, but they were close, finishing 18th in the NHL, just missing on the postseason by one spot. It may have come down to the goal differential, I believe, which is, I think, is like the third or fourth step in the tie-breaking process. The Blackhawks had a positive 18, and the Kraken only had a positive 5, so that may be the reason why the Kraken missed out on the postseason. No problem for Shane Wright, though, as he played in all 82 games and put up 29 goals and 55 assists for 84 points. He had 18 power play points and averaged under 20 minutes a night for, I believe, the first time in his career. No, not the first time in his career, but for only the third time in his career, and for the first time since 2024-25. So definitely uncharted territory here, but it makes sense as he has dropped to an 84 overall and is now listed as a second line forward. The puck skills, senses, and shooting, like I said, will always be there, but the defense starting to drop. 73 shot blocking, he's not going to get in the way of those shots. Skating at 3 stars, it took a big hit this year, and physical took an even bigger hit as it's at 1.5 stars. Hopefully all the other attributes can remain intact over this offseason. Maybe even a little bit of work with old man Gary Roberts, who knows, and headed into 2039-40, he can maintain the same level of production because the Kraken were so close to another postseason berth. Headed into year number 18, Shane Wright is down to an 82 overall, the lowest he's been since his rookie season at a 78. He made the jump to, 85 in year number 2. So he's down to a third-line scoring forward role. His potential's at top 9. 35 years of age and still the 5-star puck skills, 93 passing, 95 puck control, but senses and shooting down to 4.5 stars. Defense around the same as the end of last season, skating 3 stars, physical 1.5. He has Cope on his left, another playmaker as we've mentioned, and this guy Hartnell found his way back to Seattle, a sniper at least, but terrible shooting aside from 96 wrist shot accuracy, 91 offensive awareness, a really wonky player. So the team as a whole is getting a little bit weaker. That first line is incredible on Seattle. The future of the Kraken is bright, but Shane Wright is their leader and hopefully continue to mentor this team back into the postseason, perhaps. In year number 18, the Kraken missed out on the 2040 postseason, the 4th time in 6 years that they don't make the playoffs, a 25th place finish in the NHL, just below 500 with a record of 38, 39, and 5. For the first time since 2028, Shane Wright fails to score 75 points, but still gets a very impressive 70-point season, playing in 79 out of 82 games at the age of 36. Great to see that he can still get it done. And that does make it 12 consecutive seasons of 70 points or more, and a 15th season out of 18 of scoring 70 points or more, so love to see the consistency. 25 goals and 45 assists for the veteran. 14 power play points as he averaged the lowest amount of ice time in his career now with 18 minutes and 53 seconds a night, the absolute lowest, even lower than his rookie season. He is still at an 84 overall, and his role has gone up from third line scorer to second line forward. The top 9 potential may have him drop in overall over this offseason, but I'm much more confident that he won't retire now that he's at an 84 with that line role. He has one more year after this one, so I hope that he'll play it out, and I'm hoping that he won't retire because he still has enough in the tank for another season, especially after scoring 70 points. There just has to be a bit more support for him on that second line. As you see, Hartnell and Cope here didn't really do anything special. So headed into year number 19, I'm curious to see what the Kraken will do as Wright may be playing in the last season of his career. Year number 19 maintains his 84 overall status and his role as a second line forward, so that's pretty huge. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes for one more year, but it will really depend on how this team does and what kind of numbers he puts up. He still has the great attributes. He's playing on the second line. His left wing is a sniper, at least with 4.5-star shooting, despite being a 78 overall. That's good. And Hudson Esposito, a playmaker. Connor Bedard is on this team now as a 35-year-old. So the player that will likely go first overall in 2023 went second overall in the simulation because there's probably a generated prospect in front of him. Now on Seattle here in 2040-41. He's still second line center. The defense took a bit of a hit, we'll say that. And the goaltending leaves a little bit to be desired. But we've seen teams like this do well in the past. It's a good enough top 6 to make it into the postseason. So let's hope for one last run for Shane Wright and the Kraken. His skating's at 3.5 stars. I think it was down at 3, right? So he's been doing his squats. He's been doing his box jumps. He's been pushing the sled. There is still some explosive power within him. And I'm excited to see what 2040-41 will hold. Oh man, in year number 19, the Kraken just narrowly miss out on the postseason once again, finishing in 18th place in the NHL. The Sharks had one more point, but one less win to squeak into the last spot in the West. The Kraken went 41-35-6 and miss out on the postseason for a third consecutive season, the first time that has happened since their first 4 seasons in the NHL. Despite the disappointing record, Shane Wright made it a 13th consecutive season of 70 points or more, as he scored 74 in 79, 25 goals and 49 assists. Bringing in Connor Bedard was a good idea, but I don't know, maybe it was the defense that just didn't come through here. The goaltending fell apart, unfortunately. Dwayne Bruin couldn't get it done. So Shane Wright scored 16 power play points and this year averaged over 20 minutes a night, so back to getting more ice time. But at the age of 37, he is down to an 83 overall. Still listed as a second line forward, but his obligation to the Kraken has been completed here. He finished the last 3 years of that the most recent extension that he signed, but he's going into the 2041 offseason with 99 deking, hands of silk but bones of dust, 97 hand-eye, 99 passing, 99 puck control. So that has all been maintained and maybe even gotten better over some years, but the skating and physical other stuff continues to degrade a little bit. I would love to see him back for more, but we are in retirement territory, so we'll see what the 2041 offseason has for Shane Wright. Year number 20, and Shane Wright is not ready to call it a career just yet, as at the age of 37, he is still an 83 overall, although his potential has dropped to bottom 6 forward, so I wouldn't be surprised if his overall drops quite a little bit in this next season. But my goodness, 99 deking, 99 passing, and 99 puck control, along with 97 hand-eye and 5-star shooting, all attributes between 90 and 92. 90 offensive awareness, couldn't care less about the 1-star physical and 3-star skating if he's going to have that kind of skill. As I've said previously, hands of silk, bones of dust. Somehow he's getting it done. Connor Bedard's back for more. He's playing on his left. This guy Mario Tavares playing on his right. Shane Wright signed on for 2 more years at 8.695 per, giving him $17.39 million in theory, but I'm not sure if he'll play both seasons or if he'll leave some money on the table. We'll see what happens, but he is in theory signed on for 2 more years with the Kraken, so great to see him back and that the team was willing to give him that deal. This guy Jackson's an 86 on the 4th line, not sure why, but the top line looks great, and Shane Wright is poised to continue to do what he's been doing. More heartbreak in year number 20 as the Kraken finished 17th in the NHL. Once again, 1 point away from the last playoff spot in the Western Conference. A record of 40, 35, and 7 was not good enough to make the postseason. However, that did not stop Shane Wright from having another 70-plus point season. The man is just consistent through and through. He played in all 82 games, scoring 24 goals and 48 assists for 72 points. He had 15 power play points and still averaged almost 20.5 minutes per night. Not always the leader in points really anymore, as the first-line guys do that, but fantastic secondary scoring. He drops to an 82 overall, so not a huge drop, listed now as a 3rd-line scoring forward and still holding on to his bottom 6 potential. The puck skills definitely dropped a lot, but they're still 5 stars. Attributes are looking like this headed into the 2042 offseason. And his physical up to 1.5 stars now as opposed to 1 star, so hey, at least there's that. He has 1 more year on his contract, so will he go through with it, or will he call it a career after 20 seasons in the NHL? We'll have to see here in the 2042 offseason. Year number 21 for Shane Wright and the Seattle Kraken. Mr. Seattle, definitely the C on his chest. 38 years of age, now 80 overall with AHL top 6 potential, so his overall will continue to drop. Still with 5-star puck skills, although the attributes have dropped. 4-star senses, 4.5 shooting, 3-star defense, 3-star skating, and 1-star physical. Plus new line mates, this guy Dmitry Gonchar, who has 99 slap shot and wrist shot accuracy. This guy Par Nordqvist, who's also a sniper, 4.5-star shooting. So hey, we'll see if Shane Wright's streak of 70-plus point seasons could continue even as an 80 overall. I could see it. The lineup's okay. The defense is definitely passable in 2042, plus an 85 overall goalie. Okay, I like this. Let's try to make the postseason for what is likely Shane Wright's last year. In year number 21, the Kraken squeaked back into the playoffs. This time, good fortune going their way, as the Pacific Division was much weaker than the Central Division. So the Kraken and the Kings made the playoffs as the second and third teams in the division to do it, but the Hawks didn't make the playoffs since they were 6th best in their division. Very interesting situation there. Nonetheless, the Kraken make the playoffs with a record of 39, 33, and 10, even though multiple Western Conference teams below them had 40 or 41 wins. In what many thought would likely be Shane Wright's final season, the man goes point per game, scoring 82 in 82, 24 goals and 58 assists, the best season that he's had since year number 17 here in year number 21. I don't know how he does it, but he still keeps doing it. 15 power play points as well, and he was averaging over 20 minutes a night now at the age of 39. So it goes to show that good line mates make a big difference, especially with this guy on his right wing scoring 30 goals. He finally had someone good that he could pass to. In the postseason, the Kraken had a good run, but dropped in round number 2 to the eventual Stanley Cup champion Calgary Flames. They took down the Kings in 6 games in round number 1, dropped in 5 in round 2, and then the Flames went on to beat the Coyotes in 6 and Bruins in 7 to capture the 2043 Cup. In the postseason, Shane Wright posted 7 goals and 7 assists for 14 points in 11 games. He is still the leader out there. This year in regular season points, playoff points, it is crazy to see that he is also still an 83 overall, listed as a second line forward despite the AHL top 6 potential. The puck skills were back to between 95 and 99. 5-star senses and shooting, but a half-star physical. All of his physical attributes are in the 60s, aside from 82 durability. I don't know how he's doing it, but he is still doing it. His 2-year extension is up. He's definitely in retirement territory at the age of 39. I would not be surprised if he does call it a career here in the 2043 offseason, but we'll have to see what decision he makes. Year number 22, and Shane Wright is back for more. After a point-per-game season, you can't say no. He is 39 years of age and an 81 overall. AHL top 6 potential, but listed as a third-line scoring forward. The puck skills are at 5 stars, 98 puck control, 5-star senses, 5-star shooting, 2.5 skating, half-star physical. He has 62 endurance, 64 aggressiveness. He goes out for a shift, cuts through people like a hot knife through butter, comes back, just hooks up the oxygen tank, and goes out and does it again. I don't know how, but he's out here. The tough part this season is going to be the line mates. He's with 2 playmakers on his left and on his right there each. Gonchar, the player he's with last season, is on the third line. So I don't know how the offensive output's going to do with a little less goal scoring on his line. But in Seattle, the defense looks very solid. The goaltending looks great as well. And he's also getting the first unit power play as per usual. So coming off of an 82-point season and 15 consecutive seasons of 70 points or more, we'll see if Shane Wright can keep it up, as he'll be hitting the age of 40 here in 2043-44. The contract that he signed is only for 1 year, paying him $5.705 million. Just a little extra pocket change, why not? And this will very likely be the end, so let's try and go all the way. And that was not the case in year number 22, as the Kraken finished 29th in the NHL with a record of 33, 45, and 4. If this is goodbye to Shane Wright, it's unfortunate that it has to be in this fashion. He played in 69 games, his lowest game total since 2035-36, scoring 11 goals, the lowest of his career, and 41 assists for 52 points, another career low. Also a negative 26, a career worst, on that second line, which was not impressive at all. He had 13 power play points and averaged close to 18 minutes a night, the lowest amount of ice time that he's ever had in his career in a season. Makes sense since he is now 40 years of age and is down to a 79 overall and listed as a depth forward with AHL top 6 potential. His attributes are still 5-star puck skills, 4-star senses, 4.5 shooting, but everything else continues to drop pretty badly. 62 endurance. He was on pace for a 62-point season, which wouldn't have been bad at all, but just, difficult line mates, not the greatest structure around him, and a very tough season in Seattle. It was a season of padding some stats, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is where he decides to call it a career, but as we've been seeing a few times, he's not afraid to keep pushing the envelope. So 2044 offseason, we'll see what he says. And in the 2044 offseason, after 22 seasons in the NHL, all with the Seattle Kraken, mind you, Shane Wright decides to call it a career. 1,722 games played, 611 goals, 1,070 assists for 1,681 points. He retires as a 79 overall. Let's go through some of these numbers. Was never a crazy goal scorer. He had a few seasons of 40 plus goals, 3 of those, but on average was more around the 20s, 30s. Assists, his career high was 62, as he could usually be counted on for 40 to 50, but he was an extremely consistent 70 plus point scorer. He had 2 100-point seasons, a couple in the 90s, 3 in the 80s, a ton in the 70s, 1 in the 60s, and then 3 in the 50s at the beginning and at the end of his career. Ends his career as a plus 54, was usually a plus player, but not usually by much. A plus 18 his career high, and only 3 seasons of his career ended in the negative, so that's something to be made note of. And through 1,722 games, only 325 penalty minutes, oftentimes in the single digits, never more than a couple seasons of 29 penalty minutes as well. That's good enough for 1 penalty minute every around 5.3 games, so it would take like 10.5 games to equal a minor penalty of 2 minutes. That's just crazy. He ends with 4,681 shots, a shooting percentage of over 13%. 102 of his 611 goals were game winners. Great to note that as well. 123 of them were power play goals. 356 of his 1,681 points on the power play. 20 shorthanded goals, 48 shorthanded points. Averaged 21 minutes and 18 seconds of ice time per night. The final seasons were a lot shorter, but was usually in that 21 to 23 range. Played over 36,600 minutes in the NHL. Took 47,417 faceoffs, winning over 25,200 of them for 53.26% on the dot. His best season at 56.96%. Didn't throw many hits, only 1,051. Didn't block too many shots either, only at 404. He had 1,083 giveaways, but 2,266 takeaways. His best seasons had crazy ratios, 50 to 160, stuff like that, and that's what won him the 5 Selke trophies that we'll look at shortly. In the postseason, he didn't play too many playoff games in his 22 seasons, only 100 games, but he did thankfully have that Stanley Cup run in 2037, where he scored 30 points in 22 games. He ends with 45 goals, 64 assists, and 109 points in those 100 games. He was a plus 12, only 22 penalty minutes. He had 16 penalty minutes in that Stanley Cup run. Many other Stanley Cup playoff appearances, 0 penalty minutes to be accounted for. 13.8 shooting percentage, 9 power play points. 13.8 shooting percentage, 28 power play points, 4 shorthanded points, averaging over 23 minutes a night. He was 55.47 on the faceoff dot, 78 hits, 25 blocks, 85 giveaways, but 164 takeaways. He was a playoff machine, and I'm so happy that he got that Stanley Cup in Conn Smythe. Shane Wright also retires to no one's surprise as the all-time Kraken leader in games played with 1,722, seasons played at 22, goals at 611, assists at 1,070, and points at 1,681. For single-season records, Shane Wright only holds the record for most points in a season. He scored 100 points twice. Rookie records, he still holds the record for most points in a rookie season for the 56 points that he scored back in 2023, but no single game records. In the NHL records here, he doesn't make it into the top 5 games played all time, but at 1,722 games played, considering that, yeah, we have Draisaitl here at 1,800 and probably many other players who played 1,700-ish games. 1,722 should put him comfortably in the top 10 all time, and he also does get the record for most games played with a single franchise. That record previously going to Gordie Howe, who had 1,687 with the Wings, now 1,722 with the Kraken, going to Shane Wright. Shane Wright's 1,681 points should also put him around the top 10 as well. In the real world right now, that would put him number 9 all time, but I see that there's other players, of course, who are in that conversation. Probably top 10, top 15 with his point totals. His 1,070 assists would also put him in that top 10 conversation. In the current day, that would put him 9th all time once again between Adam Oates and Steve Yzerman. But, you know, regardless of the generated prospects and all that, he can certainly retire in the conversation of some of the best players in NHL history. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the career of Shane Wright, spending all 22 years of his NHL career with the Seattle Kraken. The team had drafted him 4th overall back in 2022. He stays until 2044, setting all kinds of records along the way that I doubt will be broken anytime soon for the Kraken, solidifying himself in NHL history as well, tying Patrice Bergeron for the most Selkies by a player in NHL history with 5 Selkies. He also had the Calder Trophy, the Lady Byng Trophy, and a Conn Smythe with a Stanley Cup ring to boot. He also made a ton of money along the way, over $200 million, close to $250 million. So he was the highest paid player that I've ever had in a career simulation by far. And great to see that it was all done with the Kraken. So that wraps up his career. I hope that you enjoy it. Definitely a longer one since he played 22 years, but it was a blast. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to leave a like, as it definitely helps out the channel, and be sure to leave a comment as well. What did you enjoy? What was your biggest surprise about the simulation, whether it be Shane Wright related or not? What was maybe even disappointing? I'd love to hear your feedback on this one. And also, what player's career would you like to see simulated next? It doesn't have to be a prospect, could even be Johnny Gaudreau with the Blue Jackets or something like that. So I'll look forward to reading your suggestions. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel here, it would be a great time to do so. Career simulations, NHL 22 franchise mode, breakdown and analysis of the real world of hockey, MLB The Show 22 franchise mode coming soon, and many other series that are a bit more on and off, but those are the staples here on the channel. So if you enjoyed this, I'm sure that you enjoyed the other stuff as well. The Yuri Slafkovsky career simulation that just came out about a week and a half ago, that would be a great one to check out if you haven't already. That'll be in the end cards right here as this video goes to the outro. So thank you once again for taking the time to watch, as it is very much appreciated. Hats off and congratulations to Shane Wright on such a career. We'll see what he does in the real world, and if he becomes Mr. Seattle Kraken. The statue is built for him in front of Climate Pledge Arena. I'll be curious to see what he does with Seattle throughout his career. But once again, thank you so very much for taking the time to watch, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again in the next one.